Good evening and welcome to the annual meeting of Full Council. I'm Clive Hooker, Chairman of West Berks Council. Although there are no longer any formal restrictions regarding COVID, the Council is continuing to adhere to safe working arrangements, including the recommendation that individuals continue to wear a mask when not seated. Colleagues should also continue to use the cleaning materials provided to clean your desk, chair, keyboard and mouse, as this will also help to reduce the risk. Any members of council who are in attendance remotely will be entitled to speak and ask questions when invited to do so by myself, but will not be invited to partake in the vote on any items. Indicated votes will not be sought tonight. Indicative votes, sorry, I apologise. The officers in attendance are Nigel Lynn, the Chief Executive, and Executive Directors Sue Halliwell, Joseph Holmes and Andy Sharp. Sarah Clark, the Monitoring Officer, will be the legal advisor to the meeting. I'm assisted by Vicky Ewell, the clerk to the meeting, and by Thomas Dunn, who will be acting as the Zoom host. Welcome to those honorary aldermen and alderwomen who have joined us this evening. Paul Bryant, Adrian Edwards, Graham Jones, Quinton Webb, and Ebba Webster. Lovely to see you all here tonight. The meeting is being live streamed via YouTube, so members of the public are able to follow proceedings. Please can I ask everyone present in the meeting area to make sure they switch on their microphones when invited to speak directly into them, and to switch them off when finished. Can I also ask you to make sure you have put your mobile phones on silent and have turned the sound off on your tablets. If we hear the evacuation alarm this evening, we must leave the building immediately. Please proceed via the safety emergency exit route, which will be shown to us by the trained officers. Please follow any instructions given by those trained officers. The assembly point is the Newbury Station multi-storey car park. Anyone requiring assistance down the stairs will be assisted accordingly by the trained officers. If the lockdown alarm sounds, we will remain seated and await instructions from officers. We will adjourn the meeting until such time as it is safe to proceed. I will now ask Sarah Clark to outline how the meeting will be conducted.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, members. Each member will be asked to vote on an item either by raising their hand or by using the microphone technology as directed by the chairman. If any member has difficulty using the technology, please raise your actual hand and an officer will assist. If we need to adjourn the meeting at any point, the chairman will adjourn and will advise us to the revised time and date of the meeting if necessary. Do members have any queries about the way in which the meeting will be conducted before we proceed?
I think we're all happy with that. So, members, before we start this evening's meeting, I'd like to take this opportunity, as we always do, to remind members that we are subject to the Council's Code of Conduct, which requires us to uphold certain standards, including, importantly, respect. Members across the chamber may not always agree with one another, but I would ask that in our disagreements, we endeavour to always be respectful of others' views. Members, we now move on to item 1 of the agenda. Apologies. Mrs. Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. We have received apologies from councillors Jeff Beck, Nasser Hunt, Andy Moore, Garth Simpson and Andy Williamson, and from Honorary Alderman Keith Chopping and Andrew Rolls. I can see Councillor Brooks has his hand raised, Chairman. That's the apologies that we have received in advance.
Thank you. Are there any apologies from the floor? I'll come on to you in 1 minute, Councillor. Members, I've had an email from Jeff Beck, son, this afternoon, and I just thought it'd be nice to update you. Jeff is suffering, unfortunately, for a bit of a problem following an operation he's had recently, and he is in hospital. So I'm sure our best wishes go to Jeff and a speedy recovery, and see him back in the chamber with us again. Now, we'll send that on to him if we may. I've been very kindly asked by Councillor Brooks. It's a very special occasion, and he'd like to just explain an apology from him, and I think maybe his good wife.
Thank you, Chairman. When my dear wife, Andrea, and I got married on May the 10th in 1986, I had no plans to become a councillor. I have to tell you, since I have been a councillor in 1992, I think this has clashed probably 7 or 8 times. So at the risk of, participating in divorce proceedings, I hope you will allow me to give apologies for leaving around about 8:10, as we are going from meal, and I felt I'd put in an appearance, but we will enjoy the meal very much if you allow us to go at that time, and forbear with us for doing so. And next year, try not to have the meeting on May the 10th. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. I will have a word with the monitoring officer on this. I just wonder, Mrs. Clark, do we need a proposer and seconder to release Councillor Brooks? I know how much we enjoy his company in the chamber on most occasions. Members, we now move on to item 2, which is my report. And may I say again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this, our annual meeting. And may I start by saying at the start, I'm sorry that we're not able to be in the chamber tonight to mark this important occasion, especially for the benefit of the incoming chairman and vice chairman. But this is due to the ongoing unfinished renovations. I have been in to look at the renovations so far, and I'm sure you'll be very pleased with the final outcome, and it's well worth waiting for. You now should have all received an invitation from our CEO to go and view the chamber, and I suggest that your earliest convenience, if you haven't already done so, go down and see the excellent work that's been done there. I'd like to start my final report to you by thanking Rick Jones as Vice Chairman and his wife Val for being so supportive over the past year. I've experienced some health issues during this time and was unable to represent the council as fully as I would have liked. But fortunately, Rick has stood in for me and done a magnificent job on my behalf. And when both he and I were suffering from COVID, my thanks also go to Graham Pask, who kindly stood in for both of us. Also, a big thank you to my wife, Christine, who has been both supportive, patient, and a wonderful companion, accompanied me at many of the civic events that I've attended. This year has gone very quickly, and it doesn't seem possible that this time last year, Christine and I, accompanied by Rick, Val, Graham, and his wife Hilary, all gathered at Shaw House to video the exchanging of chains and the taking of our decorations, which was later shown at our last AGM, the first for a chairman and vice chairman of council to be installed via a Zoom video. All due to the exceptional circumstances we found ourselves in with the COVID pandemic. I'd also like to thank Sarah Clark, the monitoring officer, and Shiraz Sheikh for their support, advice, and briefings before and during our council meetings. My thanks also must go to Joe Watt, Georgia Marshall, and Vicky Yule for managing my diary and making sure I got to where I was supposed to be, and for briefing me well when I actually got there. Always very useful. This year, we have seen a change of our chief executive, with Nigel Lynn joining us from Arran District Council. He is now well settled in and enthusiastic about our future going ahead. I'd also like to record my thanks to our previous CEO, Nick Carter, for his services to West Berkshire Council. The past year has seen a slow and steady recovery from the COVID pandemic, which has been reflected in the reduced number of civic functions that I've attended during my year in office, a total of 55 in total. Thankfully, things are now reverting back to some normality, but the pandemic is still impacting on the way the council works, with many staff continuing to work from home and the Zoom legacy carrying over to being the norm, and most of our council business going out live on YouTube. This has seen an encouraging engagement by the public watching those meetings live and on catch-up, which has got to be good for local politics. I would therefore like to thank all the staff, all the council staff, for their patience, dedication and commitment going through this transition period, running the business of council in an efficient, caring and professional manner for the benefits of all our residents in West Berkshire. During my year as chairman, whilst attending civic functions, many of these have had the same theme running through them, that of being managed and staffed by volunteers. And I would like to thank them for dedicating their time and commitment to those organisations and charities that they have chosen to support. This was reflected in our Community Champions Award scheme, some of the winners being young children, and others who over the years have dedicated their lives organising events to raise huge amounts of money to fund their chosen causes. Since our last council meeting in March, I've attended 8 functions, including the swearing in of the new High Sheriff of Berkshire, Elka Karabanda, in the Crown Court in Reading. And I'm sure you will all wish me and wishing her well in that office over the next year. Also, thanks must go to Willie Hartley Russell, the outgoing High Sheriff, who has served the county unfailingly during his time in office, and he now deserves a well-earned rest. Graham Pass deputised for Rick and I whilst we were down with COVID when he planted a tree on behalf of West Berks Council, believe it or not, virtually in his own back garden in Bucklebury, as part of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee tree planting initiative. Another memorable moment during my year in office was when I met her and welcomed Her Royal Highness Princess Anne to Berkshire at the Newbury Racecourse for the British Horse Society Awards, when Martin Clunes presented the awards to the recipients. I attended the Duke of Edinburgh's service of Thanksgiving at Reading Minster, when we heard tributes from his friends and colleagues and stories from those who had benefited from the Duke of Edinburgh's award scheme. I attended the Reading and West Berkshire Motor Neurone Disease Association gathering at Englefield House, where I learnt of the new technology being developed to enable those who, due to the illness, had lost the ability to speak, to again communicate by means of electronic voice synthesizer, the provision of the equipment being funded by money raised by the association. I've had the pleasure of attending the Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Services ceremony at the Lord Lieutenant's home at Welford Park, and to be able to appreciate the exceptional and dedicated work the members of the service carry out daily to care for us, often in most difficult and harrowing circumstances. My attendance at the Newbury Remembrance Day service in the Market Square was a memorable occasion when the people of Newbury came out in their hundreds to pay their respects to those who had made the final sacrifice during both World Wars and all subsequent conflicts. And following that, the remembrance service in my own ward, RAF Welford, which is always well attended by serving officers and airmen of the United States Air Force and ex-members of the Parachute Regiment. Members, it has been an honour to represent West Berkshire on behalf of West Berkshire Council over the past year. And I thank you for the trust you placed in me to carry out the role as your chairman. It has been a wonderful experience and a privilege. Thank you. Councillor Doherty.
Chairman, if I may, there's no formal place on our agenda this evening for me to thank you on behalf of all members. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you for being such a good chairman over the last year. I remember back to 2019, and actually Councillor Hooker and I had a conversation around whether he would be vice chairman for 2019 with the view that potentially becoming chairman in 2020. At that time, neither of us foresaw how long you would sit there, Councillor Hooker. So I very much appreciate the fact that you did 2 years as vice chairman of this council and you've done a year as our chairman, particularly because I know you've had your own health issues. I'd also like to thank Christine because I know she's been a wonderful companion to you throughout this and attended many occasions. So Christine, it's truly appreciated on behalf of us all here for the services that you've provided in supporting Clive throughout this role. So on behalf of us all, thank you. Councillor Hooker, you've been a wonderful chairman and we've appreciated everything that you have done on our behalf.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Councillor Doherty. Very emotional. Thank you. We now move on to item 3 of the agenda. This is the presentation of Members' Long Service Award. Now, there's a bit of jiggery-pokery goes on here. Before I make my move, if I could ask you all, please, to turn off your cameras. He says, not knowing how to turn his off. Yeah. Yes, I'm going to do it. Yes, thank you. Can you all see me? Most important position. This is for me and everyone else. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just going to do that now. I'd like to invite Councillors Hilary Cole, Jeremy Cotton, Alan Law, and Graham Past to join me in the presentation area, please. Councillors. They're all sitting comfortably. They don't know what's going to happen now, do they? Members, it's my great pleasure to be presenting these long service awards tonight. These don't come around very often, and the last time this actually took place in council was 2018. So it was a very special occasion to witness this evening. We have 3 councillors who are celebrating 15 years in office, and they are Councillors Hilary Cole, Jeremy Cotton, and Alan Law. And Councillor Graham Pask is celebrating an amazing and remarkable 35 years in office this year. Well done, Graham. He doesn't look old enough, does he? But I'm going to show you he is. Firstly, I'd like to pay tribute to Councillor Hilary Cole. Hilary was first elected in 2007 to the former Cheveley ward and has remained in office since that time. Over the years, Hilary has been involved in waste, countryside, emergency planning, training standards, environmental health, now the JPP, leisure and culture, customer services, planning, adult social care, economic development, housing, transformation, and strategic partnership. She was deputy leader from 2017 through to 2019, vice chairman of council in 2008, and chaired the Safer Communities Sub-Partnership for 2009 until becoming an executive member. As portfolio for countryside, she has also chaired the now defunct Greener Sub-Partnership. Councillor Cole, Hilary, would you please come up and join me? I forgot to ask, Hilary, and I know you might like to. Would you like to say a few words? But I thought I'd make you go back to your seat first. So let me take that from you.
As you know, Chairman, I never give up the opportunity to say a few words when I'm invited to. I have to say I've enjoyed every minute of being both a ward member for Cheveley and an executive member. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to serve both West Berkshire Council and my residents. And thank you for the honour of the long service ward this evening. Thank you.
Members, next, I'd like to pay tribute to Councillor Jeremy Cotton. Jeremy was first elected in 2088 when winning a by-election in the former Thatcham West ward. He continued to serve in that ward until 1997, when he won the election standing in the former Thatcham East ward. Jeremy chose to stand down in the year 2000 elections, but came back to the chamber in 2019. When he was successfully elected to the Thatcham North East ward. Jeremy was also chairman of council in the 1999-2000 municipal year. Jeremy, please come up and join me. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jeremy, you might say a few words.
Yes, I want to thank the public and the residents of West Berkshire for their confidence in allowing me to serve the public. I think we all come here with good intents and make this place a better place to live. And I hope we just little by little manage to do that. Thank you.
And finally, no, not finally, nearly finally, I'd like to pay tribute to Councillor Alan Law. I'd hate to leave Alan out. I've been in all sorts of trouble. Alan was first elected in 2007 and was successfully served in office in the Basildon ward ever since. Alan is currently chairman of the Overview, Scrutiny and Management Commission, chairman of the District Planning Committee, and a member of the Eastern Area Planning Committee. He's held the portfolio for planning twice, from 2008 to 2012, and 2015-16, which included economic development and the visions. He was also portfolio holder for finance and economic development and HR from 2012 to 15. He has represented the council as a partner governor on the Royal Berks Hospital Trust and was a founding member of the Thames Valley Berkshire LEP. Alan got involved in politics, we are told, when a large developer threatened to build 500 odd houses in fields in his village. And he and his wife Mavis produced Streatley's first parish plan in 2005. Protecting and enhancing the rural environment and way of life is a key political motivation to him. Alan, would you please come up?
Yeah. Oh, the 50 odd houses of that developer's just gone to 500, I hear.
I think they need to review their local plan.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Boy, time flies when you're having fun. I'd always planned actually to have once I finished the day job, to have a second little mini career. But if somebody had said to me 16 years ago, it's going to be serving the public and local government, I wouldn't have agreed with them. You're absolutely right, I got involved with parish planning. But I've really got to blame my predecessor, Councillor Chris Webber, ex-MP Richard Benyon, and particularly ex-councillors, I think Alderman Pamela Bale and Ari Neal, for twisting my arm and decided, you've done a great job with the parish plan, come and join us. But it's been a pleasure, and I'd like to thank the voters of Basildon in particular for electing me for 4 times. Thank you very much.
And finally, I'd like to pay tribute to Councillor Graham Pask. Graham was elected in 1998 and has successfully served in office in the Bucklebury ward ever since. Graham has been both Vice Chairman and Chairman of the Environment Committee. He was Group Leader in the mid-90s for 6 years, covering the transition to becoming the Unitary Authority. He's also been the opposition spokesman for children, young people, and then adult service care. He's been the portfolio holder for children and young people, and then partnerships and community safety. Graham has chaired the council in 2010-11, 2019-21, and a member of the Thatcham and then Eastern Area Planning Committee, chairing the Eastern Area Planning Committee latterly. He's been chairman of the Bucklebury Common Advisory since 1987. and smells more common from the early 1900s. Graham, please come up and receive your... Hello, old boy. Well done. Well done. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman.
Let me say a few words.
I may be getting on a bit, but from the early 1900s, maybe pushing it just a little bit. Indeed, I was first elected, having served on Bucklebury Parish Council from 83 to 87 for the first time in 1987. And who thought back then, when I was a much younger man, that I'd still be here now representing the residents of the various iterations of the Bucklebury ward. It does change parishes occasionally, but without any of the amazing support that I have received from my residents over, I've lost count of how many elections, Chairman, but quite a few, I wouldn't be here now. And that's the same for all of us in this chamber. So I've tried to do my best for the residents. You try to listen, try to represent their point of view. It's been an honour and a privilege to have served and to still be serving my residents in Bucklebury, the 4 parishes I currently represent. And here's to a few more years yet. And Chairman, thank you for your kind words.
Members, before I sit down, do bear with me, but I must thank Christine, my dear wife, for her support and her encouragement and patience to enable me to carry out my role as chairman over the last year. During that time, she's been a wonderful companion, joining me at many events, and we've had the most enjoyable and wonderful time together. Christine, thank you again. And will you now please come up and join me and receive a small token of my appreciation for all you have done for me over the last year. Now, believe it or not, members, I do have 2 other ladies in my life, which Christine knows about. And I've got full authority to meet and communicate with them on a very, very regular basis. And they are Vicky Yule and Georgie Marshall. So if I could ask you both to come up. You know where to stand. You put the X's on the spot. So Georgia, thank you very much for all you've done for me over the last year. Bless you. That's my privilege. Get to kiss the staff.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you. Thank you.
Sit down now. That's my stuff. Is that mine, this one?
No, this is mine.
Oh, that's yours, okay. That all? Members, that concludes the presentations, and thank you for your patience. Members, we now move on to item 4, the main business of the evening, which is the election of the chairman for the municipal year 2022-23. Mrs. Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I please ask for nominations for the position of Chairman of Council for the municipal year 2022 to 2023? Councillor Doherty.
I would like to propose Councillor Rick Jones.
Thank you. And does that find a seconder?
I would like to second that proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Hooker. Are there any further nominations for the position of Chairman? Thank you. I think that is the only nomination. So if I can ask if the proposer and seconder would wish to make some comments, and I could see Councillor Doherty wishes to speak.
Thank you. I'm delighted to propose Councillor Rick Jones as our Chairman of Council for this forthcoming municipal year. Rick has been involved in local politics for many years. Firstly, at parish level, where he served as Chairman of Purley-on-Thames Parish Council for 9 years. He then went on to join West Berkshire Council via a by-election in January 2015, a process he had to repeat only a few months later in May 2015, when I am pleased to say he secured his seat to become one of the ward members for Purley and part of Tilehurst. And it was at this point that I first got to know Rick. As we served our first full term together as councillors, I came to know Rick as a kind, considered person who always tries to see all points of view and give them the consideration they deserve. During his time on the council, he has managed to avoid planning at any level, but has been more actively involved in the People Directorate, holding portfolios in adult social care and health and wellbeing. As the chairman of Health and Wellbeing Board, I saw in Rick a man with endless patience and very open-minded. Traits I am sure will stand him in good stead over the coming year. Despite stepping down from the executive in 2019, Rick has continued to offer support in the health and wellbeing area, perhaps most notably through the work he has done promoting meaningful engagement with local communities in the voluntary sector. I was talking to Councillor Bridgman about Councillor Jones, and he described Rick's work on the Health and Wellbeing Board as a perfect rugby pass. He said he set up the systems that now operate and ensured that it was fit for purpose with regular attendance. So I think there's a personal thanks there from Councillor Bridgman. He has in the last year been chairman of licensing, deputy to the Health and Wellbeing Portfolio, and an active member of the Governance and Ethics Committee, all of which he has done while continuing to serve his residents in Purley and Tilehurst and being our vice chairman. You may not know this, but by profession, Rick was an IT sales support manager and business consultant. His IT skills have been evident to our group for a long time, with his active use of social media being the envy of many. The other thing that I'm sure many of us will envy is his moves on the dance floor. And I do hope in his time as chairman, he will get the chance to show them off. He is married to Val, and he is a dad and a granddad with family living nearby, so that he has a good source of resident feedback, even when he does not ask for it. I have no doubt that Rick will make an excellent representative of us all as he performs the duty of our chairman over the coming year, and I'm sure you will all welcome him into this role.
Thank you, Councillor Doherty. Councillor Hooker.
Thank you. It gives me great pleasure to second this proposal. I fully endorse everything that Lynn has said regarding Rick's qualities and suitability to be our next chairman. Rick has been exceptional in his role as vice chairman, supporting me over the last year, and has fulfilled many obligations on behalf of the council without question. His personality is one of calmness, fairness, quiet confidence, and he gets on well with all people that he interacts with. All I feel important qualities for the office before him. We've all seen how REC has chaired our council meetings with fairness and neutrality, coupled with a gentle but firm control. And I know he will continue to take these qualities forward in his term over the next 12 months. And I have no hesitation in supporting Lynn's nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. I now intend to move to the vote. So can I ask members to please raise their hands in support of the proposal that Councillor Rick Jones be elected as chairman? Thank you. Thank you. And are there any opposed? No. And any abstentions? No. Thank you. I can confirm that having had a simple majority of votes, Councillor Rick Jones has been elected as chairman of council for the 2022-23 municipal year. Councillor. Members, could I invite members to turn their cameras off in order that the focus is on the presentation area? Thank you.
I, Councillor Rick Jones, having been elected to the office of Chairman of West Berkshire District Council, declare that I take office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Members, I want to thank you for electing me as chairman for the ensuing council year. I regard it as a real honour, and I appreciate the confidence that and the trust that you place in me to fulfil the role properly. I commit to acting fairly in all the meetings and council meetings that I chair and all the other forums, and also to represent and promote the council as proactively as possible. Thank you very much. I invite Clive to join in again. Clive, in spite of the hiatus caused by the pandemic and its aftermath, you have represented the council on over 50 occasions, accompanied by Christine on many of them. And by so doing, you've supported town and parish councils, charities, clubs, and hosted many award and citizenship ceremonies. I think we all thank you for that diligent work and effort and the way you have represented the council, which has been super. I think that the the way in which you have done it has helped the council and the feeling and the reputation of the council abroad. You now return to the backbenches. You left the backbenches a well-respected member. You return even more well-respected. Can I have some? I'd like to present you with this handsome badge as past chairman, which now recognises you as a past chairman of the council. My wife often asks me to do this, and I'm never very good at it. Say ouch if this hurts. I also present you with this scrapbook as a memento of your year in office.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy it. And another memento.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you, members.
Can you invite Christina? No, Christina.
You just hold it for me. You're going to be, yeah. Could I ask now Christine to come up to the pedestal, please?
I'm afraid I don't have the flowers. What I'd like to do is, on behalf of the whole council, to thank you for you've managed to combine a full-time working job with a super supporting role for the chairman, and that's very, very much appreciated by the council. So all I can hope is that you enjoyed it and that you enjoy your year in retirement from the role over the next coming year. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I ask my wife, Valerie, to come? Would you like to come out to here so that we can change the badges? Val, thank you for agreeing to support me in the next year. I'm sure you'll do it extremely well. Thank you.
Just gone.
Members, can we turn to item 5, which is the appointment of the vice chairman for the municipal year 2022-2023. Can I call for a nomination? Councillor Doherty.
Yes, I would like to propose Councillor Alan Law as vice chairman.
And I would like to second that nomination. Councillor Doherty, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Councillor Jones. I would like to say a few words, but I hadn't realised that Councillor Law was actually up for a Long Time Service Award. So I'm not going to repeat all of the career that we've heard to date, Alan. However, what it does show you is that Alan has been a very active member of this council for quite some time. So I'm very pleased to be able to propose Councillor Law as Vice Chairman in the forthcoming year. In all of the roles that Alan has been performed to date, he is known for speaking his mind while also being fair and open to new suggestions. Alan's 15 years of experience on this council, combined with these traits, will, I am sure, make him an excellent support to Councillor Rick Jones over the coming year. I can say this with a degree of certainty, as since becoming leader, I have valued Alan's input. He is a valued source of experience and wisdom with whom I enjoy many a cup of coffee and, shall we call them, interesting conversations. He and his wife Mavis have lived in Streatley for 32 years. However, having lived in the UK, France and the USA, he does describe himself as a citizen of the world. I would certainly call him an active citizen of West Berkshire, and therefore I welcome him into this new role.
Thank you, Councillor Logsy. All I would say in seconding the role is that with Alan's experience, which we've heard all about tonight, I'm looking forward to him guiding me rather than the other way around. But Mr. Clark, would you like to take the vote on this? Oh, sorry, Councillor Dillon, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on your election to the office of Chairman. These council AGMs are slightly staged in that we're aware of nominations beforehand. That's partly so that we can make the meeting run smoothly. But also what it does do is it tells us who are going to be nominated for positions later on in the meeting. And we see that Councillor Law appears as a nomination for Chair of Overview and Scrutiny, as well as a Chair for District Planning. And because of those reasons, my group will abstain on the election of Vice Chairman for Alan, because we feel that one person shouldn't hold all three of those posts in one civic year in one authority. Thank you.
Understand.
Thank you, Chairman. We will now move to the vote for the position of Vice Chairman of Council for the municipal year 2022 to 23. Can I ask all members in favour of this proposal to please raise their hands? Thank you. And all those against? Thank you. And those abstaining? Thank you. I can confirm that Councillor Alan Law has been duly elected Vice Chairman of Council for the municipal year 2022 to 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Members, can I ask you to turn off your cameras again, please?
On the first. Yeah. I said I wasn't very good at this. You want to read?
Yeah. I, Councillor Alan Law, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of West Berkshire District Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Thanks. I'd just like to thank the leader for nominating me, and to those members who voted for me. I really appreciate that. I look forward to supporting you, Rick, throughout the rest of the year. And what a number of members probably really don't know, but I suspect Councillor Brooks does, this completes the IBM takeover of this council. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Thank you, guests, for being here. That concludes the ceremonial part of the meeting. From now on, we're back to the normal business of the council meeting. So whilst you're very, very welcome to stay, and we'd love you to stay, you're also very welcome to leave should you wish to do so at any time from now on. Thank you. Thank you, members. We move to the agenda item number 6. Any declarations of interest, Mrs. Clark?
Thank you, Chairman. I have received no declarations of interest in advance of the meeting, and so I would invite members to make any declarations of interest from the floor, should there be any. It doesn't appear there are any.
Chairman.
Councillor Linden has his hand raised.
Yes, this is quite minor. I noticed in looking at the minerals and waste plan, they mentioned Cheveley service station adjacent to the actual service station. I do some work there on a casual basis, but I don't believe I've got a declaration of interest. I just thought I'd mention it for members' interest. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Linden. So we turn to item 7, the minutes. Sorry, Tony.
Chairman, for the avoidance of doubt, I have resigned from Greenham Parish Council, so I don't have a conflict of interest over the CGR item, and I've never been an elector in the parish of Greenham either. But in case somebody thought, because I am currently the elected member for Sandalford Ward of Wash Common Ward, that I might have an interest in this.
Thank you for declaring no interest. Councillor Martha Vickers, did you? You had your hand raised? Oh, sorry. Do you mind if we proceed while you get the technical help? Is that okay? Of course. Yeah. Fine. Let's turn then to item 7 on the agenda, which is the minutes. And I move that the minutes of the meetings of council held on the 3rd and the 17th of March 2022 be signed as correct records. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Doherty.
Chairman, I'm happy to second those minutes.
Would any member like to propose any amendment to the 3rd of March 2022 minutes? Would any member like to propose any amendment to the 17th of March 22 minutes? Councillor Abbs.
Thank you. I note that I'm down as a trustee of Stroke Care Charity Newbury and West Berkshire. I resigned that position before that meeting, so that is not an accurate representation of my interests.
Thank you. Which minutes were those?
Part 1, Declaration of Interest, 80, page 19.
Thank you, Councillor Abbs.
Thank you.
So can we was there any amendment to the 17th minutes of the summit? No. Okay, thank you. So we'll make note of that amendment.
So if we conduct 2 votes, so I'm going to ask members first to vote on the minutes for the 3rd of March, noting Councillor Abbs's proposed amendment, which will be reflected in the minutes of this meeting. So if I can ask members now to raise their hands in favour of that. Thank you. Any members against or abstaining? Yeah, I think, yeah. So we've had a number of members abstaining who I assume were had given apologies for the meeting, but I can confirm, Chairman, that those minutes are approved.
Thank you.
And now for the minutes of the meeting of the 17th of March, can I please ask members to raise their hands in favour of approving those minutes? Thank you. Any against? None. And any abstentions? No, I can confirm that those minutes have been approved, Chairman, and can now be signed.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We turn to item 8, appointment of the executive by the Leader of Council for the following year. Can I invite the Leader of Council to make a statement?
Thank you, Chairman. Before I do so, I had actually promised I wasn't going to say anything. However, for the last 13 years, Councillor Hilary Cole has been an active member of this council's executive. And to say that she has held many portfolios is an under-exaggeration. From waste to leisure, from adult social care to housing, the list is extensive. But probably the one she loved the most and will always be remembered for was planning. She has also served as deputy leader through an extraordinarily difficult time for this council, following the tragic accident and subsequent death of Councillor Roger Croft. So, yes, duty befalls me as leader of this council to thank her for her services to the executive. But personally, I would like to thank Hilary. She has been a valued friend since my arrival. Yes, I was initially scared of her. But I soon learned that Hilary is a true Yorkshire woman who likes to speak her mind. Some may even say she's bloody minded. But she's also fair and considered in all that she does. Someone who will go the extra mile for those that matter to her. And someone I think is the epitome of this council's overarching values: fairness, integrity, and customer focus. So, Hilary, as you take to our backbenches, a sincere and utter thank you from me. The main event of this evening is to actually welcome Councillor Thomas Moreno to the executive. Tom was newly elected in 2019 and has since been making a name for himself on OSMC and most recently as Chairman of Governance and Ethics. I am sure Tom and his colleagues will not mind me saying, but Tom is one of our youngest members, and therefore I believe an exciting addition to the executive as we strive for a more diverse collection of voices to be heard. He will bring with him fresh thinking and new ideas as he makes internal governance and strategic partnerships his own. I have no doubt that Tom will be welcomed and supported as he takes on this new role, and I look forward to hearing his thoughts and visions in due course. There are a couple of smaller changes to executive, with Councillor Steve Arderwater taking on the transformation agenda for the council alongside his environmental role, and with Councillor Howard Wollaston adding housing to his portfolio responsibilities to replace internal governance. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all of my executive for their tireless work over the last year. They are dedicated, committed individuals who want nothing more than the best for all residents in the whole of West Berkshire. And a final special thank you for my deputy, Councillor Graham Bridgman, who always continues to keep me on track. Members, I set before you, I think we're having a slide put up to show those changes, or it's been put up while I've been talking, but they are my changes to the executive for the forthcoming year.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's probably uncommon for the Leader of the Opposition to talk about the appointment of the executive, but actually I just wanted to add the opposition are thanks to Hillary. As a portfolio holder, I know that over the years there's been various debates. But during the general election, Mr. Chairman, I was out canvassing in Cheveley and came across Hillary out in gardening in her cottage, and she offered me in for a coffee. So I think that shows the warmth of the lady, that you can be the politician here in the chamber, and outside of the chamber, we can all still be friends and share a coffee. So we wish you all the best as well, Hillary.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bridgman.
Thank you, Chairman. I would also add my very best wishes to Hillary, but the reason I asked to speak is just to reflect that the leader has thanked her executive and thanked me personally, and I want to thank her on behalf of the executive for the amount of work the shift she's put in over the last year. It's been an enormous amount of work. And I think I would hope I speak for the entire council to say that she has really put in a serious amount of work over the last year as leader of this council, and I applaud her for that. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Councillor Bridgman. I'm sure we appreciate that. Right, can we move now to item 9 on the agenda, which is the appointment and allocation of seats on the committees for the municipal year. Members, can I please refer you to the amended version of the report, which was circulated on the 5th of May. Changes were made to paragraphs 2.11, 5.27, both to confirm the independent persons appointed for 22-23. Appendices A and B for this report were originally marked as to follow and were circulated on the 9th of May 2022. Paper copies of these are on your desks. Can I invite the leader, Councillor Lynn Doherty, to formally move the recommendations on page 71 of the agenda pack, and then I will ask for a seconder.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm more than happy to move the recommendations as laid out on page 71 of the pack.
Thank you, Councillor Doherty. I believe the seconder is Councillor Lee.
Yeah, happy to second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Councillor Doherty, can I ask you to introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I don't intend to say very much about this report because it's a report that we see on an annual basis. It sets out how the committees and allocations of seats are done by the council. There is a long list of recommendations that you should all be familiar with, which I'm putting before you this evening. You have in front of you a paper copy which actually details those changes out to you. There is no way I'm going to read those all through this evening because you've had the opportunity to see that. I'm conscious that there is one change to the Overview and Scrutiny Management Commission, which is a small change, which is to swap Councillor Lee Dillon from OSMC to become a substitute and to put Councillor Adrian Abbs in his place. I'm thinking that is all on the allocations of seats and committees paper that I needed to put forward in front of you this evening. Before I stop there, I would just like to say to all members of those committees, thank you for your work. I know many of you take on more than one committee and work tirelessly to represent your residents in those committees, and it is very much appreciated by this council. So I'd just like to thank all members for putting themselves forward onto those committees, and I'm more than happy to propose this report as it currently stands.
Thank you, Councillor Doherty. Councillor Zinn, do you wish to speak now or reserve your right?
No, I'm happy to speak now, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure that there won't be too much debate to follow. I would echo what the leader said, the documents in front of members. I would just, almost my annual statement to council now. The Joint Public Protection Committee has one executive member, one council member, and obviously because of the basket principle, the council representative goes to the largest group on the council, who also happen to be the executive. And if that's replicated in all of the councils involved in the Public Protection Committee, then there would never be an opposition voice on that committee, which I think has been the case since it was founded. And so I would urge, as I do every year, for Thomas Moreno and and James Cole, if approved tonight, to push for fairer representation on that committee across Berkshire. Thank you.
Duly noted, Councillor Liddon. Thank you. Does any member wish to speak on this item? I see no hands. Can we then move to a vote, please?
Thank you, Chairman. And we are going to conduct the vote by a show of hands. So if I can ask all members in favour of this proposal to please raise their hands. Thank you. And those against? Any abstentions? Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm that that proposal has been carried.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark. Thank you, members. Item 10, appointments to outside bodies. Members, can I please refer you to Appendix A for this report, which is originally marked as to follow and was circulated on the 9th of May yesterday. Paper copies are again on your desks. Can I invite Councillor Doherty, please, to formally move the recommendations in the agenda pack on page 83.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm more than happy to move the recommendations as laid out in 2.1 and 2.2 of the agenda item 10.
Thank you.
I second that, Mr. Chairman, and have no need to reserve my right or to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doherty, do you like to speak to this report?
Again, it's a report that we see on a regular basis. So these are what annual appointments to the outside bodies. So there have been no major changes other than the fact that we welcome our newest councillor, Councillor B. Loco, onto the Royal Berkshire Fire Authority. But the rest remain the same. So I'm more than happy. I feel no need to say anything further on that report.
Thank you. Members, does anyone wish to speak on this item? Again, I see no hands. So could we move to the vote on this then, please?
Thank you, Chairman. And again, I will ask members in support of those who are in support of this proposal to please raise their hands. Thank you. Any opposed? Or any abstentions? Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm that that proposal has been carried.
Thank you very much. We move to item 11. Members, the Monitoring Officer's annual report to the Governance and Ethics Committee, which is pages 89 to 100 of the pack. Apologies, members, I had a query about this item, so it's now been clarified. Can I refer you to the amended version of the report, which was circulated again on the 5th of May? Changes were made to paragraphs 5.9 and 5.10, both in relation again to independent persons appointed for 22-23. Can I invite Councillor Howard Wollaston to formally move the recommendations on page 89 of the agenda pack, and then I will ask for a seconder.
Thank you, Chairman. And firstly, can I extend my congratulations to you on your appointment?
Thank you.
This is the Standard Monitoring Officer's annual report, which confirms that the standards of ethical conduct across the district remain good and that the number of gifts and hospitality remained low as in the previous year. The report will be circulated to all town and parish councils if approved here tonight.
Enjoy.
The report summarises the members of the Governance and Ethics Committee, including the independent persons, explains its terms of reference and outlines the advisory panel. There were a total of 32 complaints during 2021-22, of which 27 were decided as without foundation. Of these 32, 20 were against district councillors and the remainder against parish councillors. 2 complaints are still under investigation. The number of complaints is low and similar to the previous year. And members, you're asked to note this report.
Thank you, Councillor Wollaston. I understand that Councillor Tom Moreno is going to second this meeting, but we'll ask you to speak later if that's okay.
That's fine, Chairman.
Would you like to introduce the report further? Howard, are you happy to go with what you've done?
Thank you, Chairman, but I'm content as it is because I think it's a standard report for the monitoring officer and there are no real issues raised.
Okay. Members, does anyone wish to speak to this report? I see Councillor Linden.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got one comment to make, and firstly a question. I'd like to ask the monitoring officer how we're going on the independent for governance and ethics appointment, please.
So I think, Councillor Linden, Chairman, with your permission, the report confirms that the independent persons who will support the Governance and Ethics Committee in terms of complaints, that their details are within the report. And there is a further independent person for audit. And I think that there may have been an interview. Certainly we have had that out to advert recently. And as soon as we are in a position to make a formal recommendation to council, we will do that, but it's not within this report.
Chairman, I regret. Thank you very much, Mrs. Clark. I just want to make a very quick general point. I'm not just saying it. I think that as the previous chairman has stated, the code of conduct is very important, and all 43 members need to be fully cognizant with that. That's all I'm willing to say at this point, and that's all I wish to say. Thank you.
Thank you for confirming that, Councillor Linden. Any other members wish to speak on this report? No. Councillor Moreno, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. I've got nothing further to add on that.
Councillor Wollaston, anything you want to say in?
Nothing further, Chairman.
Fine. In which case we'll move to the vote on this report. Councillor Pass, do you have your hand raised?
No, Chairman.
I didn't think you had. So I'm being misguided here. Let's move to the report. So there's a vote, please.
Thank you. Again, I will invite members to vote in support of this proposal by raising their hands. Thank you. Any opposed? Or any abstentions? Thank you. I can confirm, Chairman, that recommendation and proposal has been carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark. Thank you, members. Item 12. Members, can I refer you to the amended version of the report again, which was again circulated on the 5th of May. Changes were made to the covering report and Appendix B. Appendices A, C and D were unchanged. Councillor Wollaston, would you like to?
Thank you, Chairman. This report is coming to council as a result of an approach made to me by Councillor Tony Vickers. After discussing this with officers, I agreed that a review was appropriate, and I'm pleased that Councillor Vickers is seconding this report. In a nutshell, this is a rotten borough caused by the expectation that Sandalford will be developed, resulting in Councillor Vickers being elected as a ward member for Sandalford by default, as there are only 6 electors and he was unopposed. The detail of the recommendations is contained in the report, but I believe this has cross-party support. Given the recent appeal decision to grant planning consent to Sandalford, it may well be necessary to revisit this decision ahead of either the 2027 or 2031 local elections. As such, I commend the report to council.
Thank you. Councillor Vickers, I understand you are seconding this report.
That's correct, Chairman.
Do you wish to speak now?
I'm happy to speak now, but I'll reserve the right in case there's somebody else who wants to speak. For example, the Green and Ward members. No, shall I go straight in?
I think that would be wisest.
Thank you, Chairman. Not only was I elected by default, but I wasn't actually elected because none of the 6 voters turned out. It was an empty ballot box at the end of the process. I don't know whether that's ever happened before. Not for 150 years since the actual rotten boroughs, probably, although probably even those they had stuffed ballot papers and ballot boxes, I'm sure. Anyway, this does go back to the allocation of both the strategic housing sites in the 2012 local plan, Newbury Racecourse and Sandalford. to Greenham Parish, or largely in Greenham Parish, because work on the racecourse started almost immediately before the plan was even adopted. 90% of the 1,500 racecourse homes are in Greenham, and they already have a separate polling district, which also includes about 100 flats in the former commercial buildings in Hambridge Road. And making a polling district, as I understand it, into a parish ward is a dead simple matter, and this wouldn't be controversial. But residents are cut off from the rest of the parish, and I think they do need that ward. They share a landlord, and unusual lease arrangement, shall I say, with the racecourse. And there could be nearly 2,000 voters there by next May. That's about a third of Greenham's total. The Sandalford situation is different. Outline consent was only granted last week, would you believe? For just 2/3 of the roughly 1,500 homes, of which half will be in Newbury, where the first few hundred homes to be completed are, according to the facing plan, going to be located. I first discussed the impact on parish boundaries in 2012 with the then chairman of Greenham Parish Council, and we both agreed that Sandalford needed to be under a single local council to ensure a cohesive community. So I spoke to Andy Day, then head of strategic support, to ask for a community governance review under the new legislation. But it was clear he didn't have the time or the money to do it then. But he did admit that we'd need to review the district ward boundaries because of the big increase in Greenham's overall population. And that was requested in 2015. And once we'd requested that, we weren't allowed to adjust parish electoral arrangements until the district review was completed. But weeks before the Boundary Commission finalised their proposals in December 2017, the planners were still insisting that Sandalford could deliver 500 homes by 2023. Hence the allocation of 5 parish councillors to the Greenham bit of the new Wash Common District Ward, which was only decided in early 2018. And so it was inevitable that Greenham Parish would be very unlikely to get those 5 Sandalford Ward candidates nominated in 2019. So, Chairman, if we don't pass this motion, it'll be the same ridiculous situation in 2023 and probably in 2027, because I can't see any possibility of new homes in the Greenham part of the new development being built until after that. However, there are other developments that could come forward, and one that has already been mooted, the so-called Mayfield Court, next to the Newbury College, which would be in the current Sandalford Parish Ward. So I don't think that we should get rid of Sandalford Ward, but I do think we should reallocate the most of the members to the new Racecourse Ward. It's rather absurd that such a minor change has to come to council once or even perhaps 3 times. So I'm very much in favour of the terms of reference delegating future decisions to governance and audit. I think that's sensible. But really, for such a minor change to have to go to central government to get approval, I think is hardly localism, Chairman. So I'm very pleased to second the motion, and I'm sure it will be uncontroversial, and hopefully the whole process will be complete in time for the local elections. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Vickers. I see no hands for people wanting to speak. Members, we're asked to look at two recommendations. The first, we're asking to consider first whether the council wishes to exercise its power to conduct a community governance review. And second, if we are minded to conduct that review, that the terms of reference involved in the report are used, and that the service lead of Legal and Democratic Services be authorised to conduct the review on council's behalf. That's what we're being asked to vote for. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. I will invite members to show their support for the proposal that has been removed for those 2 parts of the proposal by raising their physical hands. Thank you. And anyone opposed to that? Any abstentions? No, I can confirm, Chairman, that that proposal has been carried.
Thank you. Thank you, members. We seem to have a lot of uncontroversial things tonight, which is really good. Item 13, which is the Minerals and Waste Local Plan, some main modifications and a consultation proposal. Can I invite Councillor Richard Sumner to move the recommendations, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Happy to move the paper for the Minerals and Waste Local Plan main modifications consultation.
Thank you. I believe the seconder is Councillor Hilary Cole.
Yes, Chairman, it is, and I reserve my right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sumner, would you like to introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Chairman. And again, can I add my congratulations to those already mentioned tonight on your appointment. I want to begin by giving my thanks to all officers involved in the provision of this report and the considerable amount of time and work that's gone into and continues to go into providing it. Members, the West Berkshire Minerals and Waste Local Plan will provide the planning framework for minerals and waste development in West Berkshire. It will set out a long-term vision for minerals and waste development to 2037 and set out the policy context for assessing planning applications for minerals and waste development in the district. The plan will replace all saved policies in the now dated replacement Minerals Local Plan for Berkshire, incorporating several alterations 1997-2001, and the Waste Local Plan for Berkshire adopted in 1998. And again, both for planning decisions in West Berkshire. Following the submission of the West Berkshire Minerals and Waste Local Plan for independent examination under Regulation 22 of the Town and Country Planning Regulations and the subsequent examination hearing sessions in February 22, the Inspector has, at the request of the Council, recommended a number of main modifications to the plan in order for it to be found appropriate. The purpose of this report is to set the present schedule of proposed main modifications to the plan and supporting documentation, and to outline very recent advice from Natural England affecting the plan's examination. Approval is sought for the main modifications and supporting documents to be subject to public consultation prior to the Inspector making final recommendations on whether the plan can be adopted. And the recommendations are listed on page 131 of our agenda pack this evening. They state in short that the Council grant delegated authority to the Service Director for Development and Regulation to agree, with consultation with me, any necessary amendments to the supporting documentation for consultation, to publish the schedule of proposed main modifications and supporting documentation for a 6-week period, and following public consultation on the main modifications proposed, to consider and summarise the responses received and forward them to the Inspector for consideration. Following the receipt of the hopefully favourable report from the Inspector recommending adoption of the Minerals and Waste Local Plan, the plan will be brought back to full Council for its final adoption. Chairman, I'm happy to support those recommendations and to propose them to members for the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sumner. Members, do you wish to speak? Councillor Macro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to reiterate Councillor Sumner's commendation of the amount of work put in by the officers on this. It's taken a very long time, but that's no reflection on the current team, and they've worked very hard and very well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will be supporting this.
Thank you, Councillor Macro. Nobody else wishes to speak that I can see. So can we move to... Oh. Councillor Rolls, sorry, I can't see your hand.
Apologies, Chairman, I was struggling with my Zoom hand. Yeah, I just wanted to make it noted that whilst I don't believe I have a conflict of interest, the River Lambourne is mentioned in this paper and I do live along the River Lambourne. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other comments to be made, so can we move to a vote on this item, please?
Chairman, I'm seconding. I have some words to say.
Councillor Cole, I do apologise. I would hate to be the perpetrator of stopping you speaking, so please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. As members are aware, the production of the Minerals and Waste Local Plan has been a long and arduous, and I dare say tortuous process. And although it's never enjoyed the high profile of the local development plan, it's nonetheless absolutely vital that we have a sound and current minerals and waste plan. And as Councillor Sumner stated, these proposed main modifications will, following consultation, hopefully allow the Inspector to recommend it for adoption. I'd like to express, Chairman, my personal disappointment in the manner in which the recent advice from Natural England regarding projects and plans affecting protected sites, in this case the River Lambourne Special Area of Conservation, was delivered with no prior notification or consultation. This resulted in additional detailed work being required of officers, and it is not the way in which I would expect a Quango to behave and communicate with partner agencies. But I am pleased to second the recommendations as set out in the agenda. And before I finish, Chairman, I would just like to thank everyone, thank the leader and the deputy leader and everyone for their kind words this evening. I'm quite overcome, which is unusual for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole, indeed. So can we now move to the vote, please?
Thank you, Chairman. And I'm again going to invite members to show to vote in favour of this proposal by raising their hands. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. I can confirm, Chairman, that that proposal has been carried.
Thank you. And I do apologise again to Councillor Cole for trying to stifle her. Won't happen again, I assure you. Item 14, members, the Member Development Programme, which is pages 527 to 536 of the agenda pack. Councillor Wollaston, would you like to move the recommendation?
I move the recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you. I believe the seconder is Councillor Clive Hooker.
I'm happy to second that, Chairman.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak now or hold?
I can speak now.
So I'll need to get Councillor Howard Wollaston to introduce the report first.
Thank you, Chairman. This is the annual report recommending the Member Development Programme. It is developed by officers in conjunction with representatives from all three parties, and as such, I would hope that it is completely uncontroversial. I believe it is incumbent on us to ensure that members are kept abreast of areas of the Council's business and their responsibilities as councillors. The total budget proposed is £5,000. I would ask members to approve the programme for the 2022-23 municipal year. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wollaston. Councillor Hubbard, you said you'd like to speak now.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree there with Councillor Wollaston. The Member Development Power sits a couple of times a year. It's cross-party. We have Councillor Masters, Councillor Potton and myself, and a rigorous discussion goes on to try and formulate a good, balanced training programme for all members, both the required programme and the educational and general interest subjects. This is a good, broad educational programme, and I commit it to the Council for approval. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Dillon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll be supporting this paper. I just wanted to point out, though, that obviously the role of members and having to go through training on an annual basis when some of us might work within the public sector and still go through very similar safeguarding training, for example. And what I would like to see in future years is a way that we could almost accredit training that we've had from our employers by the council. So, for example, bring the course content in, them to sign it off and to say, yeah, you're a qualified person, because, you know, members' time is valuable and we shouldn't have to sit through training if it's not needed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sure I'll make a note of that. Members, does any other member wish to speak on this item? I see no one. So again, can we move to a vote of?
Yes, I don't know whether Councillor Wollaston had any final comments.
Nothing to add, Chairman.
That's what I thought.
Thank you. So I will again invite members to raise their hands in support of the proposal that has been moved. Thank you. Any against? You can see no hands against. Any abstentions? No, Chairman, I can confirm that that proposal has been carried.
Thank you, Mr. Clark, and again, thank you, members. Members, agenda items 15 to 22, the committee meetings. I would like to ask you to note the information in the summons relating to each of the committees listed in that agenda. I intend to take these en bloc, noting where those committees have and have not met. Anyone happy with that? Thank you. Members, that brings us to the close of the agenda items. I'd like to thank everyone for your attendance and formally close this council meeting.